read with so many awesome people that I know and love. I'm going to not read from the book because the print is small and I'm in denial about being old and needing glasses. But this is the piece in the book. It's called "The Bastards Were Everywhere and Would Endure." The neighborhood was full of bastards. The neighborhood children were, in general, cruel, ugly, dirty little creatures. Miniature versions of their bastard parents. Eventually they would grow into full-size bastards themselves and beget little bastards of their own, and the horrific cycle would repeat itself endlessly. My own parents weren't so bad. They weren't particularly good as far as parents go, but they were more hapless than evil. They did what they could. My father seemed to be one of the few grown-ups in the neighborhood who wore a shirt and had a regular job. The rest of them would just sit in their garages all day drinking beer, bullshitting, and listening to country music. The bad, cheesy redneck kind. And the weeks and months and the years passed without much ever happening. A general and ongoing stagnation. From time to time, one of the bastards would die or be sent off to jail for a spell, but everyone that went away, another would be there to take his place. The bastards were endless and eternal. In the summer I am thinking of, I was probably 16. The bastards were in Barney's garage bullshitting like always. Despite the fear and hatred I harbored for them, I sometimes spent time in their midst, as there was most always a cooler full of beer sitting around in Barney's garage, and I would go and stand around with them for a little while, pretending to listen to their conversations long enough to stuff as many beers in my pockets as I could, before retreating back to the relative safety of my own bedroom. One particular afternoon, as I was stuffing cans of Coors Light in the pockets of my jacket, the subject of the bastards' bullshitting was a cat. A plain, scruffy, black and white stray cat that wandered around the neighborhood. Barney's wife was prone to leaving the screen door to the kitchen open while she was off drinking and bullshitting, thus allowing the cat to wander inside. Surely eventually would stumble home drunk in her bedroom to find the cat curled up asleep on her bed or on a chair. And for some reason I could never fully understand, the fact of the cat enraged her. She would screech and yell and throw household objects at the creature, usually managing to chase it back outside. This particular afternoon, the unlucky feline made the mistake of crawling under the bed rather than escaping through the screen door. Shirley swore and howled and cursed, but the cat stayed hunkered down within the darkness beneath the bed. Shirley enlisted the aid of Jerry and some of the other neighborhood bastards, and they eventually got the frightened animal out of the house, but not before it had done a fair amount of fear-induced pissing. From that afternoon onwards, the cat was declared a menace by the neighborhood bastards, and its eradication became their collective mission. Barney declared he would shoot the thing, but Shirley dissuaded him, fearing another unwelcome visit from the police. She borrowed a wire mesh rabbit trap from Mickey, put an open can of sardines inside, and set it outside the screen door. The following morning, she drew aside her shades to find, to her obscene pleasure, she had indeed managed to capture the luckless beast. And how the bastards reveled in their victory. The fact that they had managed to trap some half-starved stray cat somehow gave them a feeling of rare achievement. From the drunken celebration, one would have imagined they had captured a dinosaur or a pack of wolverines. When I visited Barney's garage to investigate the commotion, all the bastards were standing around the little cage that held the suffering cat. The prison was so small the cat could hardly move. It could do little but sit in its own shit and piss, spitting and howling at its tormentors. Seeing it there like that, a feeling of disgust and shame rose within me. My hatred of the bastards was a pure fire that burned in my heart. A little she-bastard who lived down the street had filled a plastic beach pail with water. She was slowly making her way to the cage, saying, "Nice kitty, kitty, nice kitty, kitty." She stood in front of the cage, holding her pail of dirty water. I understood what she was going to do, just a moment too late to stop her. And she dumped the contents of the pail over the cage and onto the animal. And the cat yowled and hissed, and the bastards laughed. and the little she-bastard ran back home with her empty pail, screeching with glee. Eventually, the bastards grew bored with the spectacle of the caged animal and wandered off into the house to watch a boxing match, and I was left alone with the cat. And I spoke softly to it, trying to offer what little consolation I could. It hissed and growled when I drew close. It couldn't tell me apart from the bastards. I want to tell the cat that I hated them too. I was not of their kind. I made a silent promise to the animal and took a few beers from Barney's cooler and went back home. It was a Saturday when the bastard captured the cat, and they planned to let it sit in the cage until Monday, when people from the SPCA or somewhere were supposed to come and take it away. And I lay on my bed in my room, drinking my stolen Coors Lights, thinking about the cat, mocked and tortured, guilty of nothing, waiting for an all but certain death. When night came, I waited until I was fairly sure that all the bastards were asleep, and I quietly crept to where the cage still sat in Barney's yard. The cat growled softly at my approach. "Shh," I whispered. "I can get you out of here, buddy." I picked up the cage and walked with it quickly to where my piss yellow Datsun sat in the driveway. It's true, I had a Datsun the color of piss. And the cat was hissing and yowling all the while. "It's okay, buddy," I said over and over. "It's okay." And I put the cage in the passenger seat and I drove. The cat continued to howl. I did my best to soothe it, hoping somehow it would eventually understand that I was on its side. Our destination was a field about a mile away, across the street from the junior high school. I stopped the car and left the motor running. I took the cage to the middle of the field and then tried to figure out how to open the thing. When I finally managed it, the cat cowered in the corner of the cage and hissed, still not understanding that I was trying to do good. I finally picked up the cage and turned it sideways, dumping the cat out into the field. For a moment, the cat stood motionless and dazed. It looked around the field and then at me, and then it ran. It ran very fast. When it put a fair amount of distance between us, it slowed to a trot and turned around and gazed back at me. I imagined to see if I was giving chase. I like to think at this point it understood that I was a friend. It continued to trot away, and I stood and watched until it was gone. I threw the cage in a nearby trash bin and drove home, my car reeking of cat piss. The next day I woke and went outside, and the bastards were all gathered in Barney's garage, heatedly discussing the disappearance of the animal. "Hey, Billy," Jerry said as I walked to my car, "you know what happened to that goddamn cat?" I rightly figured that I would be the first on their list of suspects, as they knew that I knew that they were bastards, and they rarely spoke to me unless it was to accuse me of something. "I don't know," I said. The bastards stared, not believing it for a second. I just kept walking. "It was a mean cat," Jerry eventually said. "Pissed all over Shirley's bed." "Yeah," I said, getting into my car. I imagined all the neighborhood bastards in their own personal little cages, wallowing in their own filth. I drove away, my car the color of piss and smelling of it. And even at that age, I didn't believe in any particular god, but I said a little prayer of sorts for the cat and wished it better luck with the rest of its time upon the earth. The bastards were everywhere and would endure, but we do what we can.
That's right.
Thank you.